Rev up your engines!
Hello, guy 492 says ATP 205 reseal risks. I see people say they have a problem with the ATP AT205 reseal and clogged oil filters, or it doesn't do much at all. Now, I'm assuming it doesn't do anything because the rubber's too worn out or the car's just structurally unsound. What do you say? You want to put any additive in a system. All that does is rejuvenate rubber seals. You got to do it with clean fluid. You don't just put it in your engine. You change the oil and filter first. Then you put it in. You don't want to mess with dirty, filthy oil. Who knows what kind of interactions it's going to have with all that dirt in the sealer. You never know. You put it in clean, you're not going to have any problem. And I've had so many people try different things over the years that I know they work quite well. And they say, oh, this blew up, this did that. And it's like, your car has a billion problems. Pouring a little bit of sealer isn't going to fix them all. I've had people pour stuff in and they'll say, well, then I took it to the mechanic. He said, well, that ruined the catalytic converter, that ruined this, and now I need to pay him $5,000. It's a bunch of nonsense. A car that's falling apart, a bottle of sealer isn't going to fix it, right? You change the oil and filter. You put it in with the new oil and filter. And if the seals aren't completely ripped up, it can rejuvenate them and stop them from leaking. It will often work. If it doesn't, you're going to have to take everything apart and fix the actual seals. It's the only thing I ever saw that really works good. And it is a polymer liquid. It's not like a solid that's going to clog stuff up. There's many sealers that have powder and beads and crap. Don't use them. They'll clog stuff up. But this is just a polymer. It looks like water. Don't worry about it hurting anything as long as you change the fluid first. Don't put it in dirty fluid. I've been telling people for years, you got a radiator, it's got a leak in it. You want to use radiator sealer, go right ahead. Change the radiator coolant first. Don't put it in with dirty coolant. It might clog stuff up. You put it in with clean coolant. It won't clog anything up. Do not put any kind of additive in dirty fluids. Change the fluid first. Itzak123 says, how often should I change my CVT fluid? I got a 2022 Toyota Sienna, 4,000 miles now. How often should I change the fluid? If I change it every 60K, would it be okay? Love your videos. That's pretty good. I mean, I'd probably go 40 to 50, just because only a certain percentage of the fluid comes out when you drain it. Watch my videos on changing fluid. You'll see it's not that hard to do. You might have to buy one or two special tools, but once you buy them, you can keep changing it yourself. When you change it, you change less than like 1/4 of all the fluid inside. So you're just diluting it with clean fluid. Buy the Toyota fluid. I change it every 40, 50,000 miles just to be on the safe side. Coconut Man says, where was my car built? How do I find out where my 2005 Toyota Corolla LE 1.6 liter automatic was made? Now there's a plate, but the plates are sneaky. A lot of times they'll just say made by Toyota of North America or whatever. You get your VIN number. Call up a Toyota dealer part department. Say, here's my VIN number. Where was my car made? And they can tell you. They can decipher the thing. The letters all mean something, and they can tell you where it was made. By law, they have to tell. It used to say, made in Japan, everybody wanted those. Then they realized, well, they don't want the ones that are made in Mexico, so we can't say made in Mexico. We'll say something else on them. And some of them, it's hilarious. They would say California, but it was Baja California in Mexico, not in California, United States. So the VIN numbers always tell you the truth, though. They always do. For any vehicle sold in the United States, the VIN number has codes that tell you where the vehicle was manufactured. Car or motorcycle, doesn't matter. Anything with a VIN number will tell you where it was made. They can't escape it. Brad Tomatic says, is it okay to drive on a car with a sidewall tire bulge for over a year? '09 Nissan Cube hit a curb and there's a bubble. Should I replace it or is it okay to drive? Replace it, please. It's sticking out of the side. You got to do something. That's dangerous. It could just pop and all the air come out of it, You don't want to be driving a tire with a bulge. I admit, when I was young, I did because I was a kid and I didn't have any money. I'd never get new tires. I'd get used tires because I was too cheap. I was really cheap because I worked at my father's garage. So when customers bought new tires, I'd take their old tires and put them on my car. So it didn't cost anything. But they were worn tires too, Now, it was a light little car. It didn't weigh much, but still, you shouldn't drive with bulges coming out of your tire. It's dangerous. Just plain dangerous. You're riding on air, and if that bubble burst when you hit a big bump on the highway going 65, boom, you could lose it. So just get at least one tire. Don't drive with that bulge sticking out. Galeno says, I have a 2018 Mazda. The transmission failed on the road. I got a 2018 Mazda based on the 4-cylinder Ford Ranger. We were cruising the highway and it revved all the way up. We pulled to the side and tried to make it go, but it wouldn't go anywhere. The engine runs, but we got a rattling noise. What happened? How do we fix it? Well, those aren't very well-made vehicles. And what's happened is your transmission obviously has destroyed itself. When it just revs out of nowhere, the transmission's gone. It's going out. And now you say, you hear a rattling noise, but it won't move. That means the transmission is totally shot. The only thing that could possibly happen, pray it's this, baby, pray it's this. Maybe a joint broke on one of the drive shafts. Then it won't go anywhere because it revs up because it's spinning against nothing. It's not pulling the car. The drive shaft's broken. So go into there and pray. You see the drive shaft joint is broken and it's hanging there. And the rattling noise would be the drive shaft rattling around because it's not going. Pray you just broke a drive shaft joint. Pray, because if not, your transmission shot is going to cost you a small fortune. Pray the drive shaft broke. I'm not saying, I'm not going to say, gee, I wish my drive shaft broke, but it's so much cheaper to fix than a transmission. You want to pray that it's just the joint in the drive shaft that broke. Easy to see, crawl under there, look. And somebody's sitting there in the rattling, you see it spinning around, rattle, you know it broke. Pray it's that. Daniel Ramirez says, I have trouble reading my engine oil dipstick. I got a 19 Toyota 4Runner. Do my own oil changes. I wipe off the dipstick. Every time I take it back, it has oil smeared a quarter of the way up. I even tried letting it sit overnight to let it drain down. What can I do? When you let them drain the whole way down, make sure you're on a level surface. My father did it once. His car was crooked. He thought, oh, my Toyota's out of oil. Yeah, because he had it like this. I said, park it flat. He didn't. It was full, right? Make sure you're flat and you're full. And overnight, there's no anything left in that tube. It'll be down. Whatever that reading is then, that is the correct reading. Sometimes there's a buildup of crud on the dipstick. So get some good polish and polish all the crud so it's just shiny metal. So the only things left is shiny metal, not any weird pieces. Then do it. And first thing in the morning on a flat surface, you're going to get the correct reading. Just make sure your drive shaft's flat. Even a little curve, one way or the other, you're going to get a false reading. A lot of times that confuses people. Now, when it's hot and you measure it, yeah, a lot of it's stuck in the dipstick and you'll get some on the bottom, some on the side. It's very hard to read. That's why you want to do it first thing in the morning. First thing in the morning, you're going to get the true reading. For sure. This woman doctor bought a Tesla. It was a Model 3, the cheaper one. But on her third drive, she was stranded. Couldn't drive the thing. And yet Tesla blames her on everything. As I've warned people, this technology is not perfected. The car left her stranded on the highway. She couldn't get it open, couldn't get it to move. And this was in the left lane of I-5 in California, busy highway, right? It told her that she had 140 miles to go. She's going down the road. Then all of a sudden, boom, it says you got 29 miles to go. Then it just shut the car off. Then it said she had 140 miles of range left and 40% charge. Yet then it just turned itself off. And that's the problem. The measuring system of these lithium-ion batteries is not very accurate. I've been filming with these things for decades. I have a problem with the camera I'm filming this with. It's got lithium-ion batteries. They get older especially. It'll say you have 1 hour and 20 minutes of shooting time left, right? While I'm shooting your videos. Starts out like 3.5 hours. It'll say you got 1 hour and 20 minutes left. 5 minutes later, I'm filming a video and the camera turns itself off. Okay, I turn it back on and then the battery indicator's red. It says battery's empty. But it just told me 5 minutes before it had 1 hour or 20 minutes of shooting left. These things aren't accurate. It's not like your regular car where the gasoline is in a tank. There's a float and the float goes full. As it goes down, it shows you it's half empty, right? It's a float. It's a very simple thing. Estimating what's left in a lithium-ion battery, they're not all that accurate. That's the problem. You imagine if there were tens of millions of these things on the road, they would be stranded everywhere. Luckily, people haven't been in any big wrecks with it yet that I know of because they stopped in the middle of nowhere. But that's going to happen. Then they realize, well, that's not accurate. Am I going to be able to make it here? And you're going to have the charging stations full of nervous people who want to keep it full the whole way because they're worried, right? It's a rat's nest of problems that people aren't even talking about except me. It is not a proven technology. And then they just blew her off. So it's your fault. You just didn't follow it correctly. But she had pictures of it, and they still deny it. That's the hilarious thing about these companies. You can have pictures and stuff. Well, no. That's how they are. We don't care about your picture. These things happen. I've had customers take cars to dealerships, right? I hear this noise, and they say they can't hear it. So they make a video on their phone. They say, here it is. And then they look. Well, they can't deny the noise because there it is on their camera in their car, right? But then they'll just say, we can't replicate the sound. These electric cars, believe me. Don't blame me when you start having problems. Getting stranded in the middle of nowhere.
So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.